Good morning from sunny Western Australia, and it is a sunny day today. It's currently 35 degrees outside. I can't put the AC on because the noise you'd hear it over this video, so it's switched off at the moment. And if I start sweating profusely in the next few minutes, you'll understand why. Anyway, what I'm looking at today is this device, the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11. My mission was to find the perfect compact Android tablet for my use. The problem, if you like, when deciding what tablet to buy is what specifications say on paper and what their real-world usage is like. For the last year, I've been buying several different tablets, partly because I wanted to review them, of course, but also to try and find the ideal tablet. I've been through a few already, and the graveyard is full of those discarded tablets. I have a TCL Nextpaper 11 Plus. That has a wonderful screen, brilliant indoors, but not so brilliant outdoors. And the actual processor inside it is not the most powerful. Not that I really need the most powerful, but I do want something that's a bit future-proof. I had a Lenovo Legion Tab Gen 3. Great compact tablet, great for gaming, good gaming tablet. Maybe just a bit too small, a bit too niche for my uses. Then we had the Google Pixel tablet. Nice machine, but getting a bit old and a little bit slow. My wife loves it, so she's commandeered that one. That's her daily driver. Pad 5, wonderful device. I really like that. Good size, great screen, good build quality. The only downside for me, at least, was the one that I could buy at the time was the Chinese version. There was no global version at the time I bought it. And although you can load the Google Play Store and put Google Apps on, there's always those little quirks that come with using a Chinese ROM version. And there were some apps on the phone I could not get rid of. Ideally, if that had been a proper global version with the full Google Play Store installed at the operating system level, that would have been a fantastic device, and I would have chosen that because it also had a soft light screen. It had some of the advantages of the TCL Nextpaper 11 Plus. The other one I tried was a OnePlus Pad 3. I'd been seeing a few reviews on that, and everyone was raving what a great device, a very good screen. Enjoyed it, but just a bit too large, a little bit too heavy for my use. I tend to want to be able to hold a tablet in my hands and sit and read it for a decent length of time. I tend to browse the internet and I look at articles and things like that, and I may watch YouTube videos, and if I'm away I might be watching Netflix in my hotel room, that kind of thing. I want something that is comfortable to hold in my hands for a reasonable length of time. The result of all that investigation was I sold them all. And at the end of the process, this one had arrived just too late to include in my Does Size Matter YouTube video that compared those previous factors, those previous devices. Let's have a look at this device itself. The form factor, it's an 11-inch screen. Press the right button, switch it on. Sorry, I haven't set up that finger, obviously. There we go. 11-inch screen. And for me, the sweet spot between portability and productivity. Very nice build, full aluminium body. It's IP68 water and dust resistance, and that's a bit of a rarity in this class of device. It weighs just 502 grams, comfortable to hold for lengthy periods of time. It's 5.9 millimeters thin. The one I've got here is the graphite one, gives it quite a professional look. Comparison points, it feels a little bit more premium than some of the other more plastic composite builds. For example, the TCL Nextpaper, beautiful device, but it did have that slightly plasticky feel, whereas the Galaxy Tab S11 feels like a quality device. The screen itself, it is an 11-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display, a dynamic adaptive refresh rate up to 120 Hertz. It has full HDR support, which means deep blacks, high contrast. Good audio. It has stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos. Why it wins from that point of view, from the screen point of view, to me, is all the other ones were LCD or IPS panels. The OnePlus, the Lenovo Legion, the Oppo Pad, whereas this is a proper AMOLED display, and that is an advantage. Inside it, Processor wise, we have a MediaTek Dimensity 9400 Plus flagship performance. It has 12 gigabytes of RAM, which is LPDDR5X RAM, so quite speedy. The operating system on it is Android 16 with One UI 8, which is Samsung's launcher app. Killer features, if you're into that kind of thing, is it supports Samsung DeX. If you use it, it will transform the tablet into a desktop experience. It has a lot of AI integrated, good productivity tools in One UI. It includes Gemini support as well. Okay, let's take a closer look at the user interface and the controls on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11. Typical Android screen at this point. If you swipe up from the middle, you open up the app drawer. If we swipe up again from the bottom, it takes us back to that home screen. If we swipe from the right across to the left, it opens up further pages if you've got any. And similarly, if we swipe the other way, we get the Google Discover feed. Various articles we can look at. Swipe down from the top left, we have our notification shade. Swipe down for the top right, and we have our quick settings toggles. These can be edited and modified. We can add and remove and change the order and where things are. We'll go back to the home screen there. Going back into, go back and have a look at the settings. This always gives you a good overview of a device. If we go from the top downwards, connections, we've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, put it in flight mode. It can tell us how much data we're using or what was using data on the Wi-Fi. It shows us any connected devices we've got, like buds, etc. If you're using Samsung DeX, then it shows the Galaxy AI. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S11 has Writing Assist, which helps you sort of organize and improve your text, plus chat translations. It has an interpreter, Note Assist, Transcript Assist, and Browsing Assist. All of these depend on you using Samsung's own apps. For example, Note Assist only works in Samsung Notes. I don't use any of those apps. Photo Assist, this works inside the Samsung Gallery. Personally, I've found that Google Photos has more than enough technology assistance for me anyway. I don't really need the Samsung stuff. Drawing Assist, again, if we're working inside something like Samsung Notes, Drawing Assist will turn your squiggly lines into straighter lines. Audio Eraser, this is quite good. This works in videos when you're recording things, and if you want to get rid of distracting background voice and noises in audio recording, it will help with that. Photo Ambient Wallpaper helps you set up your own wallpapers. The Now Brief is something that gives you a daily brief or summary for the day. To be honest, I find it less than useless. All it really does is show me the weather, and I can do that with the weather app. Modes and routines. You can set up additional modes, and so you've got things like sleep mode, if you're in the theatre, if you're driving, etc. Sound mode. You can mute it, you can change the ringtones, the notification sounds, system sound and volume. Notification status, and this is where we can go in and adjust which apps give us notifications, which don't. As you can see, I turn quite a few of them off because I find it a bit distracting. As well, I use my phone for most sort of things like alarms where I need to be notified, not my tablet. The display, I've got it set to dark mode, and at the moment, as you can see, I'm on about 60% brightness. It goes all the way up. Turn on extra bright mode, although that was adaptive brightness, so it becomes very bright when it's set up. Go back into that. I do not use adaptive brightness. I tend to find that these tablet devices, they flip-flop the brightness too much. If I'm in a dark room, it sometimes might be too bright. If I'm in a light place, it might be too dull, so I prefer to set it myself. It's not that difficult to adjust because all you have to do is pull down on the notification shade and adjust it from here. I prefer to do that. Going back into settings, battery. This is where you can adjust things like battery protection. It shows you your battery usage and which apps are using more battery than others. You can auto dim the screen. You can show the battery percentage, which I am showing in the top there. Wallpaper and style. This is where we can change our wallpapers and you can pick from various wallpapers that Samsung provides. You can use photographs and things like that. It has graphical colours, wallpaper services, dynamic lock screens. Home screen layout, this is where you can include or declude the app labels. If you don't want the app labels to show on the home screen, you can turn them off, and so your apps will show without any names underneath them. I don't want to do that, thank you. Don't know why that's been it. It's because I pressed the power button. Back to that home screen, put the app labels back on, and as you can see, it's now got the labels. It's a little bit annoying, it doesn't remember where you last were when you're in the settings. Lock screen layout, this is where you can set pattern, face, fingerprint, ID. I find the thumbprint is very good on this, and I tend to use that most of the time. This is where you can configure that now bar. You can decide what information you want on it. I imagine this probably works a lot better for our US users, but here in Australia it doesn't seem to provide very much interesting information. You go to security and privacy. It looks for security issues. Looks like I've got some security issues on this. I'm not going to look at those now. Locations, I've got location switched on, although generally I tend to only use this at home, in my home anyway, so it's not like I'm using it out and about very often. Medical info, you can store medical info here. Again, a lot of these things are very useful on a mobile phone, less so on a tablet. I guess if you travel with a tablet and use it, it could be useful, but I don't do that very often. You can manage your accounts in here. You have your Google services. So you've got your Find Hub, Google Wallet, family groups, and cross-device services. Advanced features are where you've got some of the Bixby and Labs settings. So you can force things like landscape view for portrait apps, multi-window for all apps, because some apps don't support multi-window. Digital well-being, parental control. Again, I've switched this off because I'm not really wanting my tablet to tell me how often I should watch the screen. Device care, this looks after the battery, the storage, memory. As you can see, I've got 512 gigabytes, of which just over half has been used. And my memory, which is 12 gigabytes in here, 7.4 gigabytes in use at the moment. Software update, so you can check your software, make sure it's up to date. And this is where you can choose your default apps. Which browser app do you want to do? Caller ID and spam, digital assistant, home app, etc. Then we get to general management. This is about the keyboards. You can change the keyboard language, the app language, language packs, etc. You can also get directly into the Gboard settings from here. Accessibility, various things if you need them to help you. I have got some installed apps like Link to Windows, Live Transcribe, sound notifications and voice access. Software update, this is where we can check to see whether our operating system is current and up to date. It appears to be checking, but it's taking a while. Your software is up to date, that's good to know. We're on One UI version 8, which is on top of version 16 of Android. This is quite useful. It has a built-in link to the Samsung user guide for the tablet. It obviously requires a live connection to the internet, but you can go in here and you can find out information about various things on your device. Connected devices shows what's connected. Again, buds, etc. I've gone back into the top, ignore that. Remote management. I'm going to read through all these details in great detail and before I accept them. You lied. Not very responsive here. What's going on? If I accept all the terms above, agree, cancel that. This allows somebody to connect to your tablet so they can take control of it, one of the technicians, and then they can actually help you if something's going wrong. I'm not quite sure why I went into that. Remote management, I should have guessed. Bit of an overview about where we are and what machines. Galaxy Tab S11, status information, Wi-Fi address, Bluetooth address, Ethernet, etc. As you can see, there's quite a bit you can configure on this. One of the things I do like is that you have different home screens for the orientation. I'm in landscape mode here, and as you can see, I've got just 5 icons along the top here and then 10 on each row below. And then I've got my weather at the top there and the Google search bar. And if I turn it into portrait mode,
it has a different layout. And the thing is, it remembers the layout for each mode. If I move this Google, press and hold, move that over here, say, so it'll stay here on this orientation. And when I turn it back with the other orientation, it's still where it was. It remembers the previous location. And if I move this one here and then go back here, it hasn't affected it on this screen. Depending on whether you're using it in landscape or portrait, you can have your layout of your app icons will remain where they are, and the other bits like widgets that you put on the screen. I think that's quite nice, and it's the first time I've seen that on any tablet before. If we just power it off and have a quick look around the actual device, obviously our screen here, we have got our main buttons. So we've got our volume up and down, got our power button. We've got the tray here to add external storage up to 2 terabytes. On the bottom, we have 2 speaker slots and our USB-C. I say on the bottom, it's on the right-hand side if you're talking about it in portrait mode. We have 2 little tags here, and these help when you're lining up the keyboard, the magnetic keyboard. And again, at the other end, we have a microphone hole and 2 speakers. And then on the rear, we have our camera and flash, and we also have the pogo pins to allow the keyboard to connect. It's actually quite a smart looking device. Slim, not too heavy, comfortable to hold, and that's one of the reasons I chose this particular device, is just how comfortable it is to use day to day. That's the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11. Hands-on or point of view.
My unit, this particular one, has 512 gigabytes of internal storage. I've got plenty of file storage in here. The base models start at 128 gigabytes. It's expandable. It has space for a micro SD card in the top here. You put a little pin in there and eject that SIM slot, a RAM slot if you like, micro SD card slot. And it supports up to 2 terabytes. So you can put a lot of storage on this particular device. And I didn't find any of the others had that kind of expansion. Wi-Fi, it has Wi-Fi 6E. It does not have Wi-Fi 7. If you get the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra, that supports Wi-Fi 7. But for some reason, the standard S11 does not support Wi-Fi 7, just Wi-Fi 6E. Ports wise, it has a typical USB-C port on the bottom, and this is a USB-C Type-C 3.2 port. The battery inside it, 8,200 milliamp hours. It supports 45 watt super fast charging. That's what Samsung calls super fast charging. In a world where you can get devices that charge at 100 watts or faster, I think it's a bit rich calling it super fast charging. But from Samsung's point of view, that's what it is. It has support for the S Pen, and the S Pen came in the box with it. And this is it here. It attaches to the device magnetically. There's a slightly grayer side, one of the hexagon sides, and that's where it attaches to the tablet. Not particularly strong magnetically. I wish there was a better way of attaching it. Previous Samsung tabs have had an attachment on the back of the device here, and then if you buy one of their folios, it would then protect that and hold it in place. I prefer that, but they've gone over to this one that now just attaches on the side and doesn't get held as well in place because of that. Even when you put a case on it, I have a couple of options here. This one is the folio case. It goes on like so, magnetically attaches and protects the device quite nice, and it's a well-made folio. Adds a little bit of weight. That's quite a bit of weight actually. But when you attach the, I've got to find the grey bit there, it attaches, but it doesn't give it any support. There's no additional support holding the pen in place. It'll still come off quite, I won't, that's a bit more. Oh, I'm lying, it does give it a bit more support. That's interesting. Maybe I had it attached in the wrong place previously. Let's try. Let's put this back on here. Oh, I was wrong. It is actually quite well attached. I obviously tried it the wrong place, so forgive. The other case I have is this. This is their keyboard case. Very similar. magnetically attaches to the back like so, closes up, folds up like that, and protects it. And then when you want to use it, it opens up like so, and then you put it into the slot there. And that's quite solid. It does mean there's no adjustment to the angle, it's just a fixed angle, but it's not a bad angle, and it also works quite nicely on your lap when it's like that. The beauty of the attachment, the pogo pins here, which attach up to the back of the tablet there, when it's like that, they magnetically attach to the back of the device, but when it's off like that, it means the keyboard's not attached. It's not going to be affected. If you're touching the back of the keyboard like this, it won't attach, or it won't make any difference on the screen itself. You won't be typing on it. It has to be physically on the slot like that in order for the keyboard to be connected. As I say, a couple of options there. Neither of those come in the box, but pen does come in the box. Cameras, we have one camera on the back. It's a 13 megapixel camera, not bad camera. And on the front, there is a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It's up here in the top display when you're using it in landscape, portrait, landscape format, maybe for doing video calls and things like that. It's at the top of the screen. The beauty is it's actually held in the bezel, so you don't actually see it, which is quite nice. Previous devices had a little notch that came down, which was there, but did sort of catch the eye, if you like. My verdict on this device, this is only a short, quick overview for anyone who might be considering a tablet they just want to be able to hold in their hands and use like I do for browsing the internet, watching Netflix, that kind of thing, reading their emails. I use Instapaper quite a lot, so I read a lot of stuff, and I use Kindle. Again, Kindle's great on this. So why it stayed, why I chose this one over all the other ones, because when this arrived, I still had all those other tablets, and since then I've sold them all. But I've kept this one because it's got a better screen. I think it's a better screen than even the Legion, which has a very nice screen. The software is better. Now, if you used X, that would obviously be an advantage. I don't. But even so, Samsung's software is quite well developed and well polished. I like the OnePlus. I like the Oppo. I think they both have reasonable software, although the Oppo, being the Chinese version, wasn't really a proper comparison. It would be interesting when the global version eventually comes out to compare that. It supports better multitasking than my Pixel device, the one that my wife now uses. And it comes from Samsung. So it's a well-established brand. Comes with 7 years software support. Final thoughts. If you want one tablet to do everything reasonably well, stop searching. You've got it there. It's the Samsung Galaxy Tab S11. Is it perfect? No. Is there such a thing as a perfect tablet? I don't think there is. What I would like on this would be something like the Oppo Pad 5's soft light screen. Something that just takes a little bit of the glare off the screen. A lot of the time, it's fine. You angle it right. You've got it in front of you. The glare's not going to bother you. But there are certain times when you're outdoors, particularly where it's a bright sunny day. If I'm sat out on my balcony when it's bright and sunny, you're going to get a bit of glare on the screen. That can become a little bit annoying. The one thing I loved about the TCL device was that anti-glare screen. You could pretty much use it anywhere and you didn't get glare. The trouble was outdoors, it washed out a little bit, whereas this is beautifully bright and won't wash out in that way. Very nice device, and if you are considering one, I would look at this. The only option I would also consider is if Oppo bring out the Oppo Pad 5 in the soft light version in a global version, so it works with all the normal Google Store apps, then that would be a very serious contender, and I would look at one of those, depending on price and availability. The only downside, if you like, with the Oppo Pad 5 is it's not an OLED screen. And this does have that beautiful, bright OLED screen that is a pleasure to look at and use, particularly when you're doing things like watching YouTube. Very professional-looking YouTuber.
I think looks rather nice. Is the top of the range. This has 16 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. I've been using it.
So obviously not a professional YouTuber. It's a hobby for me. I buy these devices using my own money. I use them for at least a couple of months before I actually sit down and do a review of them, so that I've got an idea of what it's like to use on a daily basis. I'd like to think that when I say a device is a good one, it's from my opinion, of course, and everyone has different requirements, but I actually think that Samsung Galaxy Tab S11 is a very nice tablet. It's powerful enough, it's got a great screen, and it's not so heavy. You can sit there and hold this in your hands for a long time. If you're going to do a lot of productivity work, you might want a bigger screen, maybe the Ultra, but this one suits me absolutely fine. Thank you for watching.